up with a decent score, I'm sure that can act as a good fallback for you the next time when you appear for the exam.
Yeah,
Like walk me through the experience so far.
I finished all the classes first and then made sure my concepts are strong.
Hmm.
And then practice-wise, uh, I figured quant is I'm in a decent spot with quant,
Hmm.
which is ironic with how the exam went. Uh, and the verbal section was the one that I found not challenging, but different from what I'm used to being tested on. The graphs and the tables came naturally to me because I've been working in this with data for like 5 years now. So they weren't much of a challenge. Just need to understand how the questions are being tested. A week or two more, I might have practiced more on the difficult questions on quant, but I don't think that would help here because my first 5 easy questions only got screwed up here. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the gist of.
Got it. I think, see, one of the main things that basically would have led to the kind of drop it did would have been the 5 minutes that you spent on the first question, right? I mean, had that not been done, then overall your pacing would have been a lot better, and you definitely would have ended up scoring way higher than you currently did. Inability to just leave a question, like guess on it and move on,
Mhm.
was the main reason why he wasn't able to score well in the last 3 or 4 attempts. There definitely were some issues in terms of concepts and application, which we addressed, but the main thing was just that. So I told him to basically focus more on taking mocks and building that muscle to take that strategic call
Mhm.
to keep in mind the bigger picture, right? The longer game here is that you got to be able to finish the test on time. So that if you do next time around, I think will definitely help you to improve your overall performance, because going wrong in the first 4 or 5 questions is penalized to an extent that you just can't recover from it, no matter how
Mhm.
well you score in the other questions. You've kind of already seen that. And the best part, as you mentioned, is that the topics that you fumbled on weren't the topics that you actually struggled with. So here, if you were to just keep yourself calm, composed, have certain strategies in mind in terms of when to skip a question, when to guess on it and move on, just those things, and those things cannot be learned simply by practicing questions on PDFs. You basically will have to put yourself in that immersive experience of the test itself. Largely, your strategy should revolve around taking as many quizzes as possible, taking as
Mhm.
many mocks as possible, exposing yourself to those kinds of questions which might actually take you more than 2 or 3 minutes to answer. Definitely, I believe like 2 more weeks of practice here definitely can change the game for you, Aditya. Another 20-30 points easily for the taking.
Do I go back to the drawing board or build from here now? What should be my strategy now?
I think mostly built from here. There's no reason for you to go back to the drawing board because you're fairly confident about your concepts and you're also confident about these sections to begin with. I think that might be an overkill. You can choose to kind of review them if you want, but again, not a lot of value will be left, is not there for you to extract. More of the value will come from the test taking strategies front of it, not really the solving of questions bit of it.
When I was giving my GMAT club quizzes, I realized the level of difficulty on those questions is way higher than the questions
Yeah.
that were actually tested on the mock. The mock was way easier, and the concepts being tested were also very. They were not even testing me on the formulas of the concept. They were just testing me on the logic of math. Whereas the questions on the GMAT club quiz are very technical sometimes, or do get very formula driven or very concept driven. How do I practice for quant here?
Um, the point is that you will have to understand on forums, particularly, this is a problem that you will have because those are not curated questions, right? They're like all the questions that they have a pool of questions, they throw the questions at you. I think you do still have an option of selecting the difficulty level. You can
Yes.
choose to kind of select the difficulty level to be of medium or medium hard, but I don't think that solving extremely hard questions at this point would do you a lot of good in terms of your confidence. You might actually feel a little demoralized there. Apart from that, I think the 700 to 800 level material is usually enough for most people. But then again, in case you do plan to go to the GMAT Club forum quiz, I think just toning down the difficulty here would help you to make the questions a bit more realistic.
Mhm.
It's very honestly, like I've been in the industry for too long to help you understand that it's very difficult to replicate the same quality and standard as that of the GMAT question.
How do I keep the momentum on verbal and DI?
Again, like, so overall, the sources that you will use will remain the same, right? So you have the official guide, you have the GMAT forum quizzes that you would do. But here you just want to understand exactly like what are those areas that you need to double down on? Because even though you'll be spending, let's say, 1 hour on verbal or 2 hours on verbal, you still don't want to divide that time equally across RC and CR. You still want to understand that out of all the areas that I'm good at and all the areas I'm weak at, which is the one I'm weakest at. And then you start from that and you slowly sort of, keep gravitating towards the stronger areas. So the best way that I know that people actually manage this is that they spend about 80% of their time on their weaknesses and 20% of their time on the strengths. So just to give you an example, if CR inference is that one topic that you're weak at, then you can devote 80% of your time to CR inference and the remaining 20% would then go to the other areas.
How do I figure out when do I schedule my exam? How do I figure that now?
So ideally, I think 2 weeks to 2.5 weeks, because I don't want you to book your exam right away. I would rather want you to wait until you have taken at least 2 full-length mocks here, and then you can get for a week from then. But as per my understanding of your current situation, I think 2 to 3 weeks max, I think should be the maximum time you invest in this. Ideally, after a week is when you should be appearing for a mock test, and then give 2 or 3 days more and take another mock test. So when you've taken those 2 mocks, that's essentially the time when you decide that, okay, now I can book it for a week or 10 days from then. As I said, like, it's more about strategy. It's not so much about conceptual mastery, which you can learn purely from the material I've shared with you. You need to apply this in real-time settings. And you've already kind of rushed about this in the past, where you have like a premeditated time or date when you want to take your exam. And usually it's fine for you to like get that seriousness going, but sometimes miscalculations can happen because it's an arbitrary target. This time around, I want you to just think it through. You have a fallback option. You know you can do extremely well. To rely on the mocks, the feedback that the mocks give you, because they're as close representations as possible of the actual exam. Give your single-minded focus and attention to GMAT. Get this done with to the point where you get like a 685, 695 if possible. And once you do, then you fully like immerse yourself into the applications phase.